T.
Miss 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 T.
Can't wait for you to meet Miss T. She is the T in T.
All right, it's about that time. This time, about every year, I start getting the calls, I start getting the requests. Everybody's had all their fun during fun time season, vacation season, and now they want to know, Miss T, what do we do about the money thing? I have people that want to start businesses. I have people that want to get into the holidays but not come out of it broke. And so I'm getting my money questions. So I decided, in order to help family, friends, my audience, the people that consume this stuff, that I'd better start doing something by way of series that specifically addresses money. And we're going to start grassroots, ground floor. So it's nothing complicated, but practical in a way that you can grow, receive, and really make your money work for you. So today, we're going to start with something simple called budgeting. Now, if you don't currently have a way to track what's flowing in and what's flowing out, you want to adopt something. I started with just a sheet of paper that I folded in half, and I would document what I needed every single month and then what I had coming in every single month. And for a lot of years, I had more going out than I had coming in. And so it was always really traumatic and frustrating for me in the beginning. But the more I tracked it, the more I could see the flow of things into my accounts, out of my accounts, into my lifestyle, out of my lifestyle, I was able to become a little more strategic in what I did with every dollar and every nickel and every penny and every dime. And so I want to help you get started with that. Now, whether you're doing this for personal reasons or you're doing this because you want to plan a vacation and it's a big one, or you want to start a company, and that was the catalyst for me. I wanted a successful business, and I knew that, the money is the big part. In fact, I was talking to someone who wants to do a business conference. And they said, but I don't want to focus it on money. I really want to just talk about how people feel and what they like and what they don't like. And I said, but it's a business conference. And they said, yeah, but we always want to focus on, how to make people feel more excited and more motivated. I said, well, there's nothing more motivating than a business that is making money. People get into business to make money. Now, yes, there is purpose and desire to do something that helps the world be better. That's what I built my company for. But also, you gotta make the money. You gotta deal with the money stuff. And so I was kind of tickled, about hey, I don't want to talk about money at the business conference. And I said, wow, I hope that all works out. So anyhow, you want to make the money when you're starting a business. You're looking for a plan, and it always starts with a budget, and that's simply documenting the flow. Now, remember something, money is a currency. So think of the ocean, the water. It ebbs and flows. It comes in and then it pulls out. It comes in, then it pulls out. Money is a currency. It's the very same way. It comes in, but it goes out. And sometimes it goes out, it's pulled out in bigger draws, and sometimes it comes in tsunami form. But when you do a budget, you give it a plan. So what's natural with money, trust me on this, and you'll start to see it the more you kind of give this your attention. It's natural for money to flow in and flow out. And I've learned, especially when I'm coaching people in business, what they have a hard time with is watching the volume of the money go out in some seasons. And so I don't want you to be afraid of that. I want you to just know that that's just what money does. It's a currency. It goes in, it goes out. Sometimes it comes in big, sometimes it goes out big, but it's a currency. It goes in, it goes out. And if it's doing that, that is healthy. If your money is coming into your personal account, you're paying your bills and it's going out, that is a healthy thing for the currency called money. So now let's talk about the budget. A budget treats your money like it's an employee, if you will. And that's how I like to classify it or think about it or imagine it in my mind, is every dollar has an assignment. And if you don't give your money an assignment, it will find something to flow to. Whether it's, oops, this unexpected bill or a mishap or something, it's going to find a place to flow. So you want to stay in control of where it flows, how it's flowing in, but also how it's flowing out. Otherwise, it will find a way to flow. And if you think about it, you'll notice like that's a thing. Like it literally happens. And so the budget, the first thing you want to do is write down everything that you spend money on. So for some people, they're just like, yeah, but I don't want to have to give up, my Starbucks or give up getting my nails done because now I'm on a budget. No, 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 no. A budget is one of the most freeing things that you can do for yourself and your money because it tells you every single assignment for every single dollar. And so if you want things like your nails done or your hair done or Starbucks money or a lunch date money, you craft it in your budget. So how I construct my budget is, very simple. I put the major lifts, the priorities, the you got to do it, love it or hate it, you just got to do it. Those go at the top, and then I add in the other things that I like it, but it's not mandatory for me to survive or for my family to thrive. And so, priorities at the top, and then I just like it kind of shapes the bottom. So it starts with things like your rent, your mortgage, your car payments, gas, light bills, utilities. I don't put groceries at the top. I find that most often when I do this with people, they put food at the top. Food in a budget, if you examine, your life or most people's life, that's where people spend a lot of money is on food. So I'm going to give you some strategy around that. So don't put food at the top. Put food like in the middle. I promise nobody's going to starve. But I got some strategy. So building out your list of things that pull your currency out. And then you're going to make a list of how it's flowing in. Now, in the beginning, for me, that was a very short list. And it was also a very frustrating thing for me to see this long list of it going out and this one or two things of how the money was coming in. And so what this budget and this practice did for me is it helped me see I need multiple streams that will help flow the money currency in. So it really instigated me to kind of get stronger and more desired in building entrepreneurship with lots of different arms and avenues. So it expanded me greatly because I said, listen, I only have this one channel that my currency is flowing through. This is not enough. So if you have that same situation, then this will help you identify it. And then I have this is a series. So I'll be able to help you maybe identify some side hustles, some other ways that you can earn and add more revenue streams so that your inflow is greater than your outflow. So we're on budget. So you've listed everything out, you know what's going out, you know what's coming in, and you have it in order of priority. Now you want to start giving your money an assignment. So you have a chunk coming in for every month. For me, I have, twice a month from what I'm considering my job, but then I also have revenue that flows in from other royalty making opportunities. And then I pick up, again, side gigs and side hustles and things like that. And so that's like one-time money that comes from here or from here or from here, depending on the season that I'm in. And so I have that listed out. And I do a budget not just for, 1 month at a time. I like to do the year so that I can really, really strengthen how I'm allocating resources. And then I like to build a bit of a wish list, if you will, of, okay, if I activate these services throughout the year 3 times, it'll give me this added chunk of money to play with, especially around the summer when I like to do vacations and such with my family. And then around the holidays, where everybody spends an absurd amount of money around holidays, but I plan ahead for it. So you can do your budget so it's just for a month at a time, which is where I started because it was too overwhelming for me to start with a whole year because I didn't have enough money coming in. It would make me cry. And so You start with your month to month, but you do want to grow so that you have an annual landscape of your financial picture. It'll really, really help you. So now that everything's listed, now you know what's coming in, now you know what potentially can go out. Now you want to do some simple math. Do you have more going out than you have coming in? And if you are like me, I always, for months, for years, because I had an absurd amount of debt, I had more going out than I had coming in all the time. And so, what I ended up having to do, I'm not saying you have to do any of this. I'm giving you strategy you can try to help control or shift or determine the flow of your currency so that you're living the lifestyle really truly that you enjoy and you're not stressed out about money all the time. And so again, I allocated or I assigned specific chunks of, my money to the things that were a priority. We needed a place to live, I needed transportation, and I have to make sure that, I'm in a climate controlled environment for myself and my family. We have hot water, we have electricity, etc. What I had left over from what was coming in, I started to give that assignment to things like internet. That helped me because I worked from home for quite some time. Um, and then also there were certain things that my kids needed for school because of the kinds of schools they went to. And then there was food. And so one of the first things I did when I was deciding, okay, I'm not only going to manage my money flow, but I'm also going to get out of debt, because one of the biggest ways that your resources are drawn away from your account is when you have debt. And so I make it a point personally to not live from a place of debt, because it sucks your resources and it's very stressful, and it's always that background program running in your mind that you owe, you owe, you owe, you owe. And so a lot of the money that's coming in, you're giving it to somebody else, and I just hated it. So I was determined to make sure that I gave my dollars an assignment to help me get out of debt. So that was also on my list when I first started. And so if you have debt and you're determined to get out of debt, then again, I'm going to give you this advice as it pertains to food. Food is everywhere. That's the one area where you can do the discounts. You can do bulk buy. You can coupon, digital couponing. I did all of those things when I was on welfare, and I had to, not spend my money on food. If I'm being ultra transparent with you, when in my welfare days I was trying to get out of debt and I only had that single source of income, and I was a full-time college student, and I was raising 3 kids while I was building a company, the last thing I bought was food. I did a lot of praying for food. And I'm not saying that that's your path. I'm saying that I was in a very desperate place, and that's what I had to give by way of currency, was prayer in exchange for food. And so I got deals. I practiced extreme couponing, and that was back in, during a window of time where that was a very popular thing. Now everything's all digital. I didn't do a lot of eating out, and it wasn't forever. It was just for the season that I needed it, so that I could get out of debt and I could shift my lifestyle up. So sometimes as you're building these budgets, you might think that there are things that you can live without. Well, guess what? I thought that, how can we live without food? We need the food. But that was an area that I got ultra creative in, and I didn't only learn it for myself, I was able to teach it to other people. And that's something that I built as a workshop in my company, because I work with a lot of families where they're singular in their source of income, and their budgets are very, very tight, and they're looking for ways to kind of, make ends meet by the end of the month. And so I teach how to do the food thing. And so I found that during that season, I would get deals. There were free food programs, and it became a fun thing for, my kids and I. Now, my kids didn't know that we were in such challenging financial conditions. They just thought it was cool that, we showed up to church one week and they had all these lemon pies, and that was breakfast. So, again, I'm not laughing at poverty. I'm just laughing at, one, how far I've come, two, how serious I was about learning to manage my money and desiring greatly to get out of debt. And my kids just kind of made a fun thing of it. So each week we'd show up to, this program that we were on that's designed to help you get out of debt. And in exchange, you would get groceries for the week. And so I was able to do that. And then these really strange things started happening in addition to that. Again, resources will find its way to you if you have a plan for it. Remember that. If you make a plan for your money, especially in the form of a budget, it will flow to you. And so I started getting gift cards. I started getting, again, I was a full-time college student and I won a scholarship, a sizable scholarship. And so instead of having to use my own resources for equipment and supplies and such for school, I won this scholarship, which was more than I needed, but it also helped me to retire debt, to pay school debt. And so anyhow, these miraculous things started to unfold, but that's because I decided each dollar had an assignment. And when I ran out of dollars to give assignments to, more dollars found their way to me, or I found my way to it. So I'm saying that there are some very unique things that start to happen when you make the decision to take control of your financial situation and force it to work in the direction that you want it to go in. And I think sometimes people give money a whole lot of authority in their lives. You don't have to live the life that you can live because of the amount of money coming in. No, you decide the lifestyle you want, and then that flow of currency will have to line up with what you decide. You're in control. Money does not control you. And anytime you feel yourself slip into that, you're the person that has to remind you, like I have to remind me, money doesn't control me. I control money. And so when I look at some of the risks that I take with business now, which are like multi-million dollar leaps, like quantum leaps into things, sometimes people say, oh, Miss T, so how did you save up the money for that? Or how did where'd you get the money for that? And I say, well, when I made the decision that I'm doing this thing, I didn't have the money in the bank. But once I made the decision that I'm doing this thing, it came to me. So we give a lot of power to money that money is not qualified to have over your life, your lifestyle, your well-being, and your mental, emotional, and physical health. It's a lot of power. So I'm saying all this to say that I'm going to do a whole series about it. I'm starting with the budgeting. I'm asking you to start with budgeting because it's the easiest place for you to give visibility to how hard your money is working for you and how much harder you need it to work for you. So I'm giving you an assignment. Number one, write everything down on a sheet of paper. Don't do digital. The reason I do paper is because it does something different in how your brain is activated and how you remember things and how you are committed to a task once you write it down. So write it down. And then again, I fold it in half. So this side says out, this side says in. And another thing that I did, and I want you to think about this is not necessarily an assignment, but I want you to think about this. I spent 2/3 of my life on welfare. I never knew what real money looked like because I only ever used food stamps because that's how my family and I grew up. So I know what it's like to be deficited in a way that it causes you to really, think broke, live broke, feel broke and be insecure because you're broke. And so something that has helped me with that over time is I make sure that I give something. I think charity and philanthropy are so important when you're trying to break that mindset that you don't have enough. Because if you can give, it suggests the opposite. If you have money to give, not just money to live, but money to give, then maybe you're not as poor as you think. And so what I would do on my budget sheet is I would add another section for giving. And that giving could be random acts of kindness, because I was so invested in how to, be clever and get food. I would actually buy groceries for other people whenever I could buy groceries for myself that I knew were in worse, conditions than I was. And so it was the practice of giving that really helped my thinking reshape so that I wouldn't keep telling myself I don't have enough money. I do have enough money. I have enough money to take care of my critical bills. I have enough money to provide for my children. I have enough money to get creative with groceries, and I have enough money to help other people. So that's something that I did, but I was really decided about breaking that mindset that told me that I didn't have enough and I wouldn't have enough, so I couldn't live a certain life. And so again, your assignment today, should you choose to accept it, is write out your budget. And if you can just start with a month, I recommend you pick a month that is a high volume outgo month so that you can start applying these practices in real time and you can start seeing the flow of your money. And then another thing I want you to consider, and these are all considerations, nobody has to do anything. This is not Warden T telling you what to do with your life. I'm simply suggesting things that worked, that I've seen work again and again and again, that have been tested and proven to work. So this other thing is, what do you want coming in? Not what do you have in your dream life, in your imagination of you being in a successful, happy, stable flow. What is that number? Now, you already have your budget sheet with everything that goes out, everything that's coming in. But now I'm asking you to take a second sheet and write down that number. So let's say, for instance, your dream number every month is $10,000. Now, with that dream budget sheet and that $10,000 amount on it, I want you to list out the assignment for every nickel of that $10,000. And you have that sheet, you hold that sheet, you look at that sheet, you read that sheet, but you function from the reality of your current budget while you're pushing yourself, you're determining yourself, you're willing yourself into the dream monthly budget. Does that make sense? I think that sometimes you can get into a situation like, doing the money stuff, and it's so frustrating and disappointing and scary that you forget to tap into the hope for tomorrow. You're in what you're in today, but it's not forever. So remember, you're the architect of your life, and that's in every form, every facet, every realm, including financial. So I want you to develop something that gives you the hope that you need to achieve the amount that you want to be living. And I promise you, once you get there, and you will get there very quickly because I did. I went from being on welfare to being on a Forbes list. Imagine that. Like 2/3 of my life like this. And then boom, here I am. So I'm saying if T can do it, most certainly you can too. So you've built your budget for the future that you're referencing every day. And then you built your budget for today that will give you the steps to get to your budget of the future. And then once you get to your budget of the future, you're going to do this thing all over again and you're going to level up. So I hope this helps you. Please do not be afraid or intimidated by this process. I find that one of the best ways to conquer something big like debt or financial deficit is to face it. And once you face it and make a plan for it, which all your budget is a plan for every dollar. Once you face it and make a plan for it, I promise you everything will shift, everything will change. So I hope this helped you today. I look forward to the success stories. I even look forward to, if you were like me, I cried because I was a single parent trying to provide for my kids and do all this stuff, and it was really challenging. So it was hard for me. So when I first started, I cried. I don't mind if you cry while you're doing this. Just let's stay connected so I can hold your hand a bit through the process of crying so that you are growing to your goal budget with your goal lifestyle. That's what this is all about. This is all about us staying connected so that we grow, evolve, change, and thrive together. Now, if this helped you, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. You got to do the stuff. And if you think that, there's something about the process that you want to bring to the community and add value, man, share that stuff with us. This is not about T just giving information. This is about us growing together and how we educate each other and evolve into our best, healthiest selves. So you can feel free to share so that we can share out with the rest of the community. That's so important to me. So thank you for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you again really soon. I got more money stuff for you, so make sure you jump back in here with me. We'll see you soon.